Hey guys, so the time is here. I'm going to be doing my number 11 list for 2015. Every year, what I do is I do obviously best films of the year. I do a top 10 list. I do my either my top five or top 10 worst of the year, depending on how many bad films I've seen throughout the previous year. And then I do something here, what we're going to do in this video today, called a number 11 list. A number 11 list is a list of films, no specific number, no specific order. No film is better than the other on this list to me, anyway. Um, these are just films that I really enjoyed throughout the previous year, and they didn't quite make my top 10 list, but I think they're notable titles that are worth watching that I really enjoyed in some way, shape, or form that just didn't quite make that top 10 list. There was just 10 films I saw that just so happened to be better than these ones. Some of these titles almost made the list. Some of these films have been on the top 10 list for my best of the year for a good chunk of the year, and then by the end of the year when we got some other really good titles, those better titles made it to the list instead of those films. So I'm just gonna, go around on this list, name off some titles that I really liked, really briefly, because I do have a lot of them for 2015. I don't want to make this video too long, just because I do have another a top 10 best of the year list and a top 10 worst of the year list, or top 5 worst of the year list, if that's what it turns out to be. So I'm just gonna name off some titles that I really enjoyed in the 2015 film year that just didn't quite make that top 10 list, but they're worth noting. I think these are great films. The first one on that list is Paddington. Really good film. Came out in the month of January. Not a lot of people were expecting it to be good just because it was taken away from its Christmas Day released in 2014 and moved to January of 2015 here in the US. But I really liked it. I saw it in a packed theater with a bunch of people that seemed to really like it. Really love the CGI use in the movie. I think it's a good film about how to handle CGI in a movie. The humor was funny. It was told in a unique way. It had a unique narrative. The Paddington Bear character came to life to me for Ben Wishaw's voice. Very good voice role for him. Just a really fun movie to watch, but just didn't quite make my top 10 list. Another great film I saw in 2015 was called While We're Young. Really small independent film. Ben Stiller, Naomi Watts, Adam Driver, who later did Star Wars 7 in 2015, Amanda Seyfried, who later did Ted 2 in 2015. All gave great performances. It has a lot to say about, new generations of filmmakers, older generations of filmmakers, how certain things stay the same, but things update as time goes along, how older people can sometimes be jealous of a younger person because that younger person has done something or is doing something that they wish they were doing when they were younger. So the film plays off of things like that really well. Really great film. I highly recommend watching it, but once again, just not quite top 10 material. Another film I really enjoyed in 2015 was called The Age of let me give you that one again. The Age of Adeline with Blake Lively and Harrison Ford. Really good movie. It has a lot to say about if people aged, never really aged, like they lived on several decades long after their relatives have died, long after their friends have died. What would it be like? What would it be like if you look like you were in your 20s your whole life? And so Age of Adeline plays off of this very well. Harrison Ford gave a great performance, almost as good of a performance that he did as Han Solo in Star Wars 7. It's just a really good performance from him. And then Blake Lively also gave a great performance. Just a really great story. It felt very contemporary. It felt like a story that could be told now or in future years or even in the 40s. It could have been told in the 1800s. It was Age of Adeline had that contemporary feel, just a great way to tell a story, something that's just not very common anymore in the movies. So Age of Adeline, great film, not top 10 material though. Another film is actually a film a lot of people hate, but I actually really like this film. I really like the director of this movie as well. He's made some great films that I still love and watch to this day, and that's the movie Pixels. I think Pixels was a very fun movie to watch. I actually thought it gave a good performance out of Adam Sandler. Actually, I love Michelle Monaghan, though her role in this was not quite as good as some other roles she's taken on in the past, like let's say Source Code. I really like that movie. Just a really fun role. I thought it was just a fun movie. It's not exactly a film I can really praise for how it was made, just because in that regard it wasn't anything spectacular. But I think what made it so fun and why I'm putting it on my runners up for top 10. This isn't a best of the year list. It's just a really fun movie. I think it's a very interesting way to kind of bring old video game characters into the modern day and find interesting ways to tell a funny story about that. So the film definitely is played up for laughs. It's definitely a comedic movie. Just had a lot of fun watching it. Huge fan of video games, but once again, not quite top 10 material. Another film is actually a film that people are putting on their top 10 list that they absolutely love. I really liked it a lot as well, but I didn't quite put it in my top 10 list like some other people have. And that's the film Ex Machina. Really good movie. I love Alex Garland as a screenwriter. He wrote the film Dread, a film I absolutely love. It definitely brought the Judge Dredd character to the film world in the right way. But for Ex Machina, I thought it was a very well-directed movie, very well-written movie. I think Alex Garland, to me at least, is a better writer than a director, at least at the moment. Who knows? Maybe in the future he'll direct a really amazing movie. Um, he got a really good performance out of Alicia Vikander, who seems to be in a lot of movies now. Can't wait to see what she does next. Sounds like she's going to be in the next Jason Bourne movie. Oscar Isaacs and Domhnall Gleeson, who both were in Star Wars 7 in 2015, also gave great performances here. Good back and forth between the two actors. Really good use of like science fiction elements. But there's just something about this movie that never quite clicked for me. There was something about that was kind of off. Something that made me not love it as much as other people did. But just really good movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. But once again, not top 10 material. Another film that people seem to be hating on that I really only seem to be the only person liking besides the director and the actors of this movie is We Are Your Friends. I know a lot of people are hating it. Some people even put it on their top 10 for worst of the year. I really don't understand that because I think We Are Your Friends is a very unique, interesting movie. It's not, I'll say it right now, it's not about smart people. People seem to be hating it for, oh, they're stupid, and oh, people would never do that, and oh, the conflicts are so stupid, and oh, it's just trying to be so art housey, and it's just so stupid, and it didn't make a lot of money in the box office. So, but you really can't beat up a movie for not doing well in the box office. Just well, there wasn't a lot of people who were interested in seeing it, which is really too bad because I think this is probably the first Zac Efron role that I liked him in. I normally don't like Zac Efron, but really liked his role in the movie. It was told in a very unique way. Emily Ratajkowski, who I hope is in a lot more movies, was really good in the movie, by the way. She was in Gone Girl, which I also really liked. Just a really good movie. It's just a really well-made movie, and it's really too bad that it didn't get more praise and that it didn't do as well in the box office, but I really liked it, so check it out if you haven't seen that yet. Hotel Transylvania 2 is also a really good movie I saw in 2015. Good sequel. I think it's actually a little bit better than the first Hotel Transylvania. Just a fun movie. Once again, a good Adam Sandler role that just the critics are just destroying him over. I think he's in better films now than he has been lately. I mean, Pixels and Hotel Transylvania 2 I thought were both great movies, and it's really too bad that the critics have to always destroy on Adam Sandler and all these movies that he's in. But really fun movie, just a great time. Came out shortly before Halloween time, so it was definitely a good fit for that time of the year. Really enjoyed the movie, but once again, not top 10 material. One movie that I'm going to be talking about next that almost made my top 10 list. It was actually on my list for a long time, but then I just so happened to see 10 films that were better than this movie, was The Gift. Joel Edgerton did a great job directing this movie. This was his directorial debut. Definitely a nice Alfred Hitchcockian take on this kind of story. It definitely was like a Fatal Attraction of the modern day kind of thing. Really good movie, really well directed movie. Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall also give great performances in that movie. I think Joel Edgerton is a very promising director if we see him as a director more often. Just a fun movie, a really promising directorial debut from Joel Edgerton, who also wrote and acted in the film. Both were also very good in it. Just really good movie, but not quite top 10 material. Another film that was on my list for a very good chunk of the year that just didn't make it to my list at the end of the year was Mission Impossible 5 Rogue Nation. Christopher McQuarrie, who directed this installment, did a really good job. Really well-directed action scenes that really put you in the moment of where Tom Cruise is at in the movie. Just a really good movie. I like the story they took on for this movie. Really liked it a lot, but once again, just not quite top 10 material. Another film that I really liked that I just knew wasn't going to make top 10 just because I knew there was probably going to be better films throughout the year, and well, there was. But this is definitely a really good movie that I liked a lot that I highly recommend, and that's Jurassic World. Really good Colin Trevorrow movie. I liked what he did with Safety Not Guaranteed as well, and hope that Star Wars Episode 9 is really good when he directs that. Really good movie, really good sequel for Jurassic Park. I don't think it's the best sequel, to be honest. I think I liked parts of Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 a little bit more. I know a lot of people hate number 3, but I really like that one. Uh, Fun sequel, didn't quite make the top 10 list. The Martian is a film that a lot of people seem to be putting on their top 10 list as well. I love the movie. It's a great Ridley Scott film. It was great to see him make another good movie again. Um, love the movie. Didn't quite put it in my top 10 list, and that's The Martian. Another film I liked in 2015, but once again, not top 10 material, was the Peanuts movie. Definitely respected Charles Schultz's comics and his TV show from back in the day. Loved the animation in this. I loved how they stuck with the 2D animation that we're familiar with Charlie Brown. Definitely followed in the tradition of all these characters, that what they did in the comics and everything. Really good movie, not quite top 10 material. One film that was actually on my list for a good chunk of the year, or at least a good chunk of the year from when I saw it, and I almost still feel guilty I didn't put it on there, but it's a really good movie that I highly recommend to everybody, and I grew up with these books throughout my life too, so that's the Goosebumps movie. Great movie, very fun, very nostalgic. If you grew up reading the books or watching the TV show of Goosebumps, you're going to have a lot of fun with this movie. Jack Black had a great time playing R.L. Stine in this movie. Loved seeing him in the role. Really fun movie. Unfortunately, there was 10 films I saw that were better in 2015, and that's why it didn't make my top 10 list, even though I really wish it did. Another film that was on my list, it came out later in the year, so I guess I couldn't say for a good chunk of the year, was 007 Spectre. Really good movie, really good James Bond movie, good Sam Mendes film. Not quite as good as Skyfall, unfortunately. I was hoping it was going to be in that same league. It definitely had the right cast and writing and a team involved that it needed to be good. And I really liked it a lot, don't get me wrong. Very good James Bond movie. Once again, not quite top 10 material. One film that almost made my list, just like Goosebumps, but it didn't quite make it, was Concussion. Really good Will Smith role, really good movie. It has a lot to say about, do we value life or money? Do we value a sport or people's lives? So just a really good movie, really well directed, really well acted from Will Smith. Concussion's a great movie, didn't quite make my list. Another film I liked in 2015 was The Rewrite. Really good indie film that not a lot of people seem to go see. I think I actually had to rent it from Redbox just because I didn't really get a theatrical release in my area for this movie. But it's really good, though. It has a lot to say about screenwriting. Probably the first and only Hugh Grant movie I think he's really good in. Marissa Tomei's in the film, and she's also very good. Chris Elliott's in the film. J.K. Simmons and Allison Janney are all in it, and they're all very good in the movie. Like I said, I just loved everything it did about screenwriting. It did a lot of things that were really good. It almost made my top 10 list, but it just got taken off by another film that actually made it to my list. So, really good movie. If you haven't seen The Rewrite, really good movie. Just didn't quite make my top 10 list. So I hope you guys liked that. That was my number 11 list. These are films that I really enjoyed in 2015, but they just didn't quite make that top 10 list. I will have my top 10 best of the year list up very soon, so stay tuned for that. And then I'm going to do a worst of the year list of films that I saw throughout 2015 that I really wasn't that impressed with. So be on the look for those. Hope you enjoyed this number 11 list, and let's hope that 2016 gives us some good movies.